Hi friends, my name is Rohan Vasudev. In this session, we are going to talk about UI button in Unity. What is UI button in Unity? It is an interactable element in Unity which responds to the user click. So it is used to perform or initiate an action in the scene or a game. An image component is attached to the button. So whenever you create a button in Unity, by default, an image component is always attached to it. So you can apply any image to the button of your choice. So what are the properties of a button element? First is your interactable, which specifies if the button is clickable or not. Then there is transition, which specifies the process of changing from one state to another. Okay, so basically when you tap on the button or click on the button, the state of the button changes, and these states can be your normal state, your highlighted state, pressed, and disabled state. There are four options in transition. What are these options? First is your none, then we have color tint here, then we have sprite swap here, and lastly we have animation. Now let's see one by one what these options for transitions basically mean. So none will have no effect on the state change. It will have no effect on the button. Basically, whenever the button is pressed or whenever the button is disabled or whenever the button is highlighted. Then we have color tint, which changes the color of the button with the change in the state. So we can have different colors for different states here. Sprite swap, different sprites can be displayed for each individual state. So we can apply different sprites for each individual state here. Lastly, we have animation transition here. Animations can be played according to the state of the button. So we can apply animations to the button according to the state. A button must always have an animator component attached to it in order to allow the animation transition to work. Okay, so now let's get into the Unity editor and let's create a UI button in the Unity. Okay guys, here I am in the Unity editor and let's create a button here. So to create a button, just right click here on the UI scene. Okay, and just go to game object and then select UI here and then click on button here. Okay, so we have our button created here as we all can see here in the screen. So now let's see what are the elements attached to the button game object here. Firstly, it will be your rect transform that will be attached by default here. Okay, then we will have an image component which will be attached when we create a button. Now going to the button component here, we have an interactable property which is checked right now. Let's run the scene here. Okay, so right now we are able to click on the button here and it's a clickable button basically. Okay, so let's just uncheck this and the button is disabled here. We cannot click on the button here. Okay, then we have transition property which will have four options: none, color tint, sprite swap, and animation. Choosing none simply means that button will have no effect on the state change here. Okay, but by default it is set to color tint here. So let's try and see what is color tint here. Okay, so target graphic simply means the image that is set to the button here. So in this case, this image has been set to the button here. Then we have normal color is the color basically which is applied to the button when the state of the button is normal, when it is not pressed or highlighted basically. So currently it is kept to white color. Let's change the normal color of the button. Let's keep it to yellow color. Okay, and highlighted color is basically when you hover on the button here. So let's change that color to red color. Okay, and pressed is the state when you actually click on the button. Currently it is gray, so let's change it to this color. Okay, and selected color is basically when the button is in the selected state. So let's keep it to white. Okay, and disabled color is your when the button is not interactable. So basically when you uncheck this thing, And then lastly, we have an on-click function here. Okay, on-click function is a Unity function which is triggered when the button is pressed here. We will get into the details of this in the upcoming sessions when we are going to learn about events, triggers, and functions in Unity. So right now, the button is in the normal state. In the normal state, the button will have a yellow color. Okay, highlighted color here is red. So if I hover on the button here, the color of the button will turn to red. Okay, then pressed color is pink. So when I click on the button, okay, you can see here it turns to pink, and once I leave the button or leave the click, then it will turn to white because that's the selected state of the button. Okay, it turns to white here. So lastly, if you extend the button component here, okay, or the button game object here, inside the button game object, we will have a text game object, okay, where we can actually apply the text on the button. So right now the text is button, so we can change it to submit or the text of our choice. Okay, so the text on the button will change to submit here. So that's it, guys. Thank you for the session. I will see you in the next session. Thank you so much, guys.